Hello, everybody, and welcome to Eat, Sleep, List. My name is Matt Johnson, your host, and for today, Mirror List Monday, we're going to be looking at some words of encouragement, motivation, and inspiration through a variety of text, movies, and so much more. Today, we are making the inspirational reading list. Let's get to work. So I've had a really kind of rough week. Not one of my best weeks in recent memory, but it hasn't been great. It certainly has not been great. It's been a challenging one, so to speak. And, you know, if you've been listening to this show, watching this show for, almost 4 months at this point. I think just about 4 months. I think it's about, it's a lot of episodes. You know that I struggle. It doesn't take much to knock me off of my perch of mental health and well-being. I've got issues, and we all do. I'm not afraid to admit that. But when I'm feeling extra down, I need to pick me up. And I'm very grateful for everybody who is involved in my life, but I don't have many folks who, on a whim, can deliver this epic arrangement of words, sentences, phrases into something that motivates me. That's where entertainment comes in. All right, that's where, for the most part, literature comes into play. I find inspiration, motivation, from a variety of different sources of entertainment, primarily reading. All right, primarily reading. But you can find inspiration anywhere. I've heard amazing quotes in children's cartoon movies that have motivated me to do great stuff and things. I've read incredible passages, paragraphs, sentences in books, entire poems. Yes, I don't look like a poem guy. I've been a poem guy for a very long time, and not a lot of people know that about me. Pulling quotes from movies. There's a great quote from one of my favorite video games of all time, Final Fantasy VIII, where one of the characters in the middle of the game just has a elaborate, deep quote about the perspective of good and evil. And it was deep. It was good. Not quite good enough to make my top 10, but it was really, really good. You can find quotes anywhere from movies and video games and in books, texts, short stories. There's so much stuff. There's so much stuff out there to draw influence from and find something that means so much to you. I know a lot of people who, every time I discuss books and finding inspiration, a lot of people name drop religious texts, right? Primarily the Bible. And while that's not necessarily my cup of tea, I understand it, and I don't shame those people for it. If you find power in words and messages and lessons from the Bible, good on you. Good on you. Carry it on. Be a good person. I think that's the greatest thing. There's a lot of different inspirations out there, entertainment inspirations. And it depends on who you are as a person and what you are interested in. I really, really recommend people finding a quote or two that they can hang their hat on, that they gravitate to in a moment of need, in a moment where you're at a low point, to give yourself peace, to kind of put things in perspective. I have several. I have several. Actually, I have more than the top 10 list that I put together today. There's quite a bit. But, we did the book list months ago. In fact, it was one of my first Fun List Friday episodes. I think it was my second one, to be exact. And I find a lot of my inspiration from reading. When I'm reading something, I become immersed in it. It becomes not just something I've read, but it becomes it changes the way I think, changes the way I feel things. 48 Laws of Power was one of my favorite books. I believe it was my number 2, or it was up there. It was certainly up there on my list. And reading that book, it changed the way I thought, the way I talked, the way I felt about things. And I feel that when I'm reading poetry, when I'm reading other books, when I'm listening to uh, when I'm listening to music, when I'm watching a movie. If I hear something that's really deep and can change the way that it can change the way that I perceive life and my various situations. I become whatever I'm immersed into. It doesn't matter what the form of entertainment is. And as long as there's a nice positive messaging behind it, I'm going to be a better person for it. I go head first into this stuff. I really do. Everything changes. Language, mental health, behavior, stuff like that. I need these checks all the time. The bad week that I've been referring to it's I'm not going to burden you with it, but I can certainly tell you that I needed help. I needed well-written help, well-oriented help. I needed guidance from great people that have spanned across many, many years, and to help put my problems into perspective and get my head on straight. And I'm very, very grateful that I have. There's a weird like not bias. It's like a frown upon, like a frown upon this sort of thing. I really, really enjoy good poetry. I really do. And it's always been like frowned upon, like you picking on people for liking poetry, but man, it is so deep and it is so good. It just works. It just works. It's like how like horoscopes, like everybody has like their daily horoscope, and it goes by their sign and whatever, and you're reading your horoscope paragraph, and the way that the words play out, your mind instantly like attaches to it. Like I'm trying to really find a good way to describe this. Your mind like instantly twists and turns the words into fitting into something that you are going through. I think we've all. I would admit. I know I can admit that I've done that before, and I'm sure many, many other people have heard that before. It's what keeps the horoscope business going. Is that these carefully crafted words. You can find a way to make them apply to real life. Like, oh my God, it's really speaking to me. This situation and that situation. Inspirational reading can happen like that. And you can listen to words. You can find words and sentences and quotes and paragraphs and twist and turn and make it into something personal, something to help you get through a personal situation. And I don't think it should be frowned upon. I don't think that should be frowned upon. I think it should be encouraged. I think it should be emphasized more. There's no shame in this sort of way of therapy. And so I really hope that as we're doing this episode today, this video, that you can think of some things, or if you haven't at this point, you can really start to think and ponder, like what words mean to me? What phrases mean something to me? Like what's a quote that defines my life and is a catchphrase? And I think if you think hard enough, that you can find some. Lots of lessons from this list. First and foremost, if you're feeling bad, if you're feeling down, sad, find a quote, find something, gravitate towards it, latch onto it, and embrace it, and become that quote. It really, it's a good relief. It's a nice way of realizing that, hey, you're not the only person going through these sorts of problems. You'll find peace. You relax. You clear your thoughts, and then you just attach yourself to whatever this phrase, this amalgamation of words and letters. You attach yourself to it and the meaning, and you actually craft a meaning behind it to help your own life. I know some of the quotes that I do. Like there's like you can hear a quote, like 10 people can hear a quote and have 10 different perspectives on it, right? 10 different understandings of it. I've been posting on the YouTube. I did stop because it wasn't getting much attention, but I was doing daily quotes. And it was interesting seeing these quotes and seeing how many different perspectives would come from this one line, like how they perceived it. And each and every one of us can have a perception of a quote. good and bad, to fit whatever narrative we have going on in our minds, whatever struggle we're going through. I highly, highly encourage it. But you got to be in the right frame of mind to do all this too. You have to be open and optimistic. You can't just be in a pissy mood and hear a quote and be like, oh, this isn't working. No, you have to relax. You have to take your time in reading it. Feel the words. Feel it in your soul. And if it doesn't really attach to your soul, then it's not a quote for you. It's not a motivational phrase for you. Be like, just, you got to feel it. Like with entertainment, like we talked about music and feeling music. All right, when the beat, the instrumental, when it hits and you feel it going through your body, like that's what inspirational or motivational quote or anything should make you feel. Some form of entertainment, like a movie, right? This movie I'm watching, and I feel something from it. It makes me feel it. Like when I'm watching it, it makes me feel emotion. Like that's how an inspirational quote, paragraph, speech, it's how it should make you feel. It should make you feel good. So there's a lot out there. There's a lot of poems. There's a lot of YouTube channels that have quotes. They discuss quotes for people. They have poems, and there's something for everybody. There really is. There really is. You just got to seek it out, and you will find peace and wisdom in some of these well-crafted pieces of art. As I said, I find inspiration from a lot of things. Okay. In fact, most of my stuff is poetry. There's a couple one-liners here. There's actually a quote from a movie, which is going to be the first one that we talk about here, my number 10, just a moment. But these are 10 things that I can draw on. All right, if I'm feeling a certain type of way, I can go and read or listen to these words and find meaning, like find power, find strength through them. And I think and I'm very, very proud of this top 10 list that I have. And you're going to be hearing me read a lot today. All right, I got my laptop right in front of me. I know you can't see it, but I'm going to be reading all of this stuff. So I hope you enjoy. I hope I can make you feel the way that I feel when I hear some of the stuff. My number 10 is my only movie one, as I've mentioned, and it is from Captain America's Civil War. Okay, and you're probably like, oh God, he's a Captain America movie. What are you going to draw inspiration from? At the funeral of Peggy Carter, at the very beginning of it, her niece, who is a love interest at the time of Steve Rogers, Captain America, is making a speech. And she's discussing her relationship with her aunt and how, like, in the storyline, Peggy Carter came about as a spy in a time where women were it was frowned upon. Like women succeeding was not like this popular thing. It was a man's world back then. But I absolutely love this quote. But she's standing there, she's making the speech, and she goes, yes, my Aunt Peggy used to say, even if everyone is telling you that something wrong is something right, even if the whole world is telling you to move, it is your duty to plant yourself like a tree, look them in the eye, and say, no, you move. And I love that. All right, I one or two of my other like poems kind of fit in this bubble, this messaging, at least from my perspective. But we live in a world where everybody feels the need to tell everybody else how to think, how to be, what to do. It's a nonstop conundrum. I know I experience it all the time. I still receive advice that I never asked for, or get told what to do by people that should know by now that I'm going to don't tell me what to, don't tell me how to think, don't tell me to think like that, don't tell me to do this and this and that. I like as long as you're not a piece of garbage, like, and your mentality is well intended, it's important for you to stay in that thought process, right? It's important for you to stay firm on your beliefs. If you stand for if you believe in nothing, you stand for nothing. I believe that's another quote that I can kind of shoehorn in here. But, uh, if you are constantly, and it's important to grow, right? It's important to grow as human beings, as intellectuals, as people. But if you don't have any values, like if you don't believe in anything except for what everybody's telling you, right? The media, social media, your immediate family, your friends, if you can't stand up to them with your own values, your own beliefs, you're just a part of the crowd. Be the tree. Be the tree and stand up and no, I'm this is the way I perceive it though. But just be your own person. Be your own person. It is very difficult in this day and age to be an individual free thinker. It is very, very difficult in an age where there's social media and there's uh, just ideological, just awful people. And I find this quote very, very enlightening and very important. So that is my number 10. From actress is Emily Van Camp, who plays Sharon Carter in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. My number 9. It is called The Guy and the Glass. My good friend Andrew Lenz, who very, very good friend, very, very good friend. He was part of my football podcast crew, the 2 Point Conversation, and one of his favorite coaches in NFL history is Bill Parcells. And there was once a quote by, or excuse me, there's a speech or a poem called "Guy in the Glass" that Bill Parcells loved, worshipped, and it spoke volumes to him. And he's read it to his players, I believe, on many different occasions. So the poem was written by a gentleman by the name of Dale Wimbrow in the early 1930s, and yeah, he read this to me on a Bill Parcells episode that we did for this podcast. All right, and here I'm gonna read it for you. All right. When you get what you want in your struggle for self, and the world makes you king for a day, just go to a mirror and look at yourself and see what that man has to say. For it isn't your father, mother, or wife whose judgment upon you must pass. The fellow whose verdict counts most in your life is the one staring back from the glass. Some people may think you're a straight shooting chum and call you a wonderful guy, but the man in the glass says you're only a bum if you can't look him straight in the eye. He's the fellow to please, never mind all the rest, for he's with you clear up to the end, and you've passed your most dangerous, difficult test if the man in the glass is your friend. You may fool the whole world down the pathway of life and get pats on the back as you pass, but your final reward will be heartaches and tears if you've cheated the man in the glass. See, I've heard it called The Guy in the Glass and Man in the Glass. Different titles, but it's true. It's self-reflection. You know what? I think there's a lot of times, I don't know if, I think this is part of my mental health struggles, is I've been told and hyped up that I'm like this good person and this great, this well-meaning, but I failed so much, and I know I'm overly critical of myself. But I'm not very confident. I've let the world tell me that I'm great. And I've also let the world tell me I'm this awful, bad person sometimes too. And it's made me feel really small. And, it's every day's a struggle. Every day is a struggle for me. This with self appreciation, self respect, self confidence is an issue that I have. Uh, I think most days I look in the mirror, I'm pretty proud of myself, but there's days where I'm extra hard and extra critical. I'm on this like nonstop journey to be a better version of myself, and I think that's part of where my mental health struggle comes from. The world has pushed me sometimes to be somebody that I don't want to be, a version of myself that I wish didn't exist. But and those are the times where I have a hard time looking at myself in the mirror. I'm flawed, just like everybody else. All right, incredibly, incredibly flawed. But I know deep down, despite how flawed I am, that I can be. That I am a well-intentioned person. That I am a well-meaning person. And despite the many times that I've messed up, my heart's in the right place. So there's a little bit of a pride when I look in the mirror. Maybe a little bit of vainness. But I know that I can look myself in the eye and deep down I know I can look myself in the mirror. I look in my own eyes through the mirror and be proud of the man that I have become. But there's always work to do. There's always work to do. So that's my number 9. Number 8. Let's go to this speech. Another great, great football coach. College football coach, actually. He just recently retired from coaching college football at Alabama, but his name is Nick Saban. And this one's a great one to listen to. He had a speech a couple years ago. I'm trying to think of when the date was. Looks like it was fairly recently, but within the last couple years. But Saban is wise with words, and a lot of his press conferences are great quotes. Like, what a great, intelligent man. You have to be to coach football, and let alone coach football at a high level for as long as he has. But he gave a speech about the importance of nothing several years ago, and it stuck with me for a long time. And there's been other speeches that Nick Saban has had that I've really gravitated towards and loved and taken as lessons, but the importance of nothing is probably my favorite of them all. Let me read it to you. You get up every day. You are entitled to nothing. Nobody owes you nothing. You could have talent, but if you don't have discipline and you don't execute, you don't focus, what do you get? Nothing. If you are complacent and not paying attention to detail, what does that get you? Nothing. So, nothing is acceptable but your best. All right, and then he goes on a rant discussing, the team, and there's additional quotes about that. Or he turns it into a message about his team to the press. And I love that because I just talked about how I've had a lot of people kind of fluff my head up over the years and make me believe I'm untouchable, make me believe that I'm better than I actually am, which is a very dangerous headspace to be, a different dangerous mindset to be in. I've been humbled a lot. But there was also a point in time where the sky was the limit. All right, I had unlimited athletic potential, and my ego got the best of me. All right, it happened to me in wrestling, especially at the collegiate level. It happened in professional wrestling, where I came in and people filled my head up with, "Oh, you're this, you're so good, you're this and that," and things happened too fast, and I fell apart. And because I felt entitled, I felt owed. I still have this issue today where I feel owed stuff. Like I feel like I give people more than I get back, and it's this weird feeling of entitlement that I don't like. But it's so hard to eradicate because it's ingrained in my mind, in my quote unquote hard drive. It's something I got to work on. It's a struggle that I have that I hope someday that I can eradicate it, and I hope that I don't pass this mindset on to my son. I'm trying very, very hard to teach him to be a young, humble uh, human being, and I really hope he ends up being better than I could ever be. So that's my number 8. All right, my number 7 is a poem about defeat. I believe the gentleman's name who wrote it is called Khalil Gibran or Gibran. I apologize for the mispronunciation. But just a couple weeks ago, not that long ago, I discussed the greatest L's list. Probably about a month ago. My greatest L's list, and how some of my greatest losses in life ended up being leading to some of my best wins. All right, and this poem emphasizes that. I've heard about this several times over the years, but over the last week, just taking seemingly L after L after L, I love this one, and it sticks with my soul more than it ever did. All right, let me read it for you. Defeat, my solitude and aloofness. You are dearer to me than 1,000 triumphs, and sweeter to my heart than all world glory. Defeat, my self-knowledge and my defiance. Through you I know that I am yet young and swift of foot, and not to be trapped by withering laurels. And in you I have found aloneness, and the joy of being shunned and scorned. Defeat, my shining sword and shield. In your eyes I have read that to be enthroned is to be enslaved, and to be understood is to be leveled down, and to be grasped is but to reach one's fullness, and like a ripe fruit to fall and be consumed. Defeat, my bold companion. You shall hear my songs and my cries and my silences, and none but you shall speak to me of the beating of wings and urging of seas and of mountains that burn in the night, and you shall alone climb my steep and rocky soul. Defeat, my deathless courage. You and I shall laugh together with the storm, and together we shall dig graves for all that die in us. And we shall stand in the sun with a will, and we shall be dangerous. All right. My interpretation is basically that whole greatest L's list. All right. Losing is way, way more valuable to us than any win, right? You are dearer to me than 1,000 triumphs. Because there's lessons to be learned. There's growth to be had when we lose. It's okay to lose. It's okay to fail sometimes. All right? I've talked about kintsugi, right? About how when pottery breaks, they replace it with gold. I believe it China or Japan, they replace it with gold and fill in the cracks and all that stuff. And this is my interpretation of this, that like losing is good. Losing is like being humble. All right. I've never met somebody, including myself, that has won and won and won and not had it not go to their head. All right. I've seen a lot of people stack up wins, stack up life wins, stack up wins in athletics, and their ego becomes ginormous, massive. That to be enthroned is to be enslaved. All right. When people are putting you on a pedestal, when people are crowning you, you are their slave, in a sense. All right? When you're finally understood, you're leveled down. This is my interpretation of it. It's stay humble, and losing is okay. Embrace losing. Be humble. There it is. All right, my number 6. I'm going to go with a poem that actually helped me in high school. And it has extra meaning to me now, looking back. It was a wrestling poem, all right, that I discovered. We had for one of my English classes, we had to look up a poem, and I wanted to find one that meant something to me, and uh, for so when I like something, when I love something, it becomes my entire personality. So of course, I wanted it to be, I wanted it to pertain to wrestling, and yeah, I love this one. And actually, in college, I ended up reciting it for an English class there too, which is really cool. This poem is called "The Champion." All right, and I guess there's an element of the last one we just read, defeat. There's a lot of various elements of that previous poem in this one, but in the context and style of wrestling. So I really hope you enjoy this one. This was a hidden one. I actually do not know who the author is for this. For all of the years that I've known of this poem, I have never ever seen an author's name attached to this. But this helped me tremendously get through high school wrestling and become the best version of myself. So here it is, The Champion. He was a man of flesh and blood. He wasn't made of rock. Angel, devil, child, a man of ordinary stock. But somehow he was different. True athletes always are. For though he cursed and bled and sweat, he prided in the scar. He was told to win like a man, no matter what the cost. So many times he ventured forth, and so many times he lost. And when he turned around, I said, "It's okay, son. You tried." He clenched his headgear in his fist, and like a man he cried. But from his tears came anger. Then when it ceased to spin, he rose again, determined that the next time he would win. His trembling body strengthened, his heart soared in the sky, and his darkened soul stood flaming with the fire in his eye. And so he worked relentlessly. He struggled and he strained. His conscience whipped him mercilessly for every ounce he gained. He ran on legs like pistons. His muscled arms grew sore. He'd tell himself, "I have to win," then ask himself, "What for?" And then, at last, the reckoning. The final hour was here. His stomach lightened dangerously. His muscles tensed with fear. Weak-kneed, he shook the challenger's hand, and then, like one possessed, his instincts gave him power, and his body did the rest. It suddenly was ended. His body seemed to scatter. A crowd was cheering somewhere, but to him it didn't matter. One thought was gleaming in his brain, a thought that made him smile. He'd given all he had, and that made it all worthwhile. He stood and faced his teammates with pride instead of shame. He knew not if he'd won or lost, but that he played the game. And some call him a wrestler, and some call him a man, but he called himself a winner, and the ref held up his hand. Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. Yeah. I failed a lot in wrestling. Yes, I did get to compete at the New York State Championships. I did get to win sectionals, but there was a lot of losses that were taken, a lot of hard lessons, a lot of heartbreaks and tears shed. I remember bawling my eyes out. I went 1-2 at a tournament for Fredonia my sophomore year, and I was so mad because I was one of my only teammates done that day, the first day. It was a 2-day tournament, and I had to go the next day and watch everybody. Well, I sat on the sidelines eliminated, and it pissed me off so bad. And while my sophomore year wasn't a great one, I finished 19-20. After that season, I took things a lot more seriously, and I finished 31-10 my junior year and 41-5 my senior year. just determined. And this poem gave me a lot of strength. So I really wish I knew who the author was. It is tremendous stuff. All right. My number five. Let's go Invictus by William Ernest Henley. I've talked about me practicing Stoicism a little bit. I read Stoic books, try to emphasize Stoic philosophy. I try over and over and over again, and it is quite the challenge. But Invictus is a powerful one. All right. In fact, I learned while doing research for this week that Nelson Mandela actually, like, this poem helped him get through his trials and tribulations, being imprisoned. It's powerful, and this is one that it really hits home. But it was tremendous. There's a video of Morgan Freeman reading it. And I love this poem dearly. So here we go. Invictus by William Ernest Henley. Out of the night that covers me, black is the pit from pole to pole. I thank whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. In the fell clutch of circumstance, I have not winced nor cried aloud. Under the bludgeonings of chance, my head is bloody, but unbowed. Beyond this place of wrath and tears looms but the horror of the shade, and yet the menace of the years finds and shall find me unafraid. It matters not how strait the gate, how charged with punishments the scroll. I am the master of my fate, and I am the captain of my soul. And I think comparatively, this is very much like the Sharon Carter one that I mentioned for my number 10. That no matter how dark our days get, how hard things get, bludgeonings of chance, my head is bloody but unbowed. It's staying true to yourself. Life is hard. Life is challenging, and people make it difficult. Sometimes we do it to ourselves too. But I know that my life is not made easy by other people. For all sorts of different reasons. My life is very exhausting. Waking up every day and being bombarded with thoughts, ideals, and stuff that I'm told I'm supposed to believe in, told I'm supposed to think and feel. I just don't. And this is the unbowed part. This is the master of my fate. This is the captain of my soul. That this is me being a tree and telling other people to move, in a sense, in reference to that movie quote. And there's a lot, this author is going through a dark period of his time, but he still didn't lose himself. No matter how hard life got for him, he didn't fully give in. I've given in at times. I've given in. I've mentioned how I've literally said yes to get people to leave me alone, and I've lost myself in the process. And a lot of doing this show, amongst other things, is me finding myself again, and being the captain of my soul. All right. So beautiful, beautiful poem, Invictus. Highly, highly invite you all to read it. All right, my number 4. And you're probably going to notice a little bit of like a different production kind of thing, like a different camera angle. And in fact, after this, my number 3, my eyes are going to be very kind of red, and I'm going to sound a little stuffy. It's because that when I was reading this during the original recording, I started crying like a big baby. And that's something I don't want to do in front of a camera. So I had to re-record it. I didn't want to put it out there. It sounded bad. Months ago I promised, hey, I will never, ever cry in front of a camera. And because I just don't want to do that. So, but this is why. This is the poem. So the poem is called Can I Carry You by Brad Anderson. And when I found out I was going to be a dad, I wanted to find some wisdom, much like this entire list has been, but in a nice sentimental way, a nice flow of words and whatnot. And when you find out you're becoming a parent, you get a lot of advice. A lot of it is, some of it is good. Most, if not all of it, is unasked for. And there's also a lot of bad advice. I met a lot of people who complain about having kids. Oh, it's this, that, these damn kids, yada, yada, yada. But I wanted something that could motivate me, inspire me to be as great as possible of a dad that I can be. And I came across this one, and it pulls at the heartstrings, and that's why I'm re-recording it right now. So here it is, Can I Carry You by Brad Anderson. I guess that I can hold you one more time before you grow and tell you that I love you so that you will always know. Please let me tie your shoe again. One day you'll tie your own. And when you think back to this time, I hope it's love I've shown. Can I help you put your coat on? Can I please cut up your meat? Can I pull you in the wagon? Can I pick you out a treat? One day, you might just care for me. So let me care for you. I want to be a part of every little thing you do. Tonight, can I please wash your hair? Can I put toys in the bath? Can I help you count your small 10 toes before I teach you math? Before you join a baseball team, can I pitch you one more ball? And one more time, can I stand near to make sure you don't fall? Let's take another spaceship ride up to the planet Zor before our cardboard rocket doesn't fit us anymore. Please let me help you up the hill while you're still too small to climb, and let me read you stories while you are young and have the time. I know the day will come when you will do these things alone. Will you recall the shoulder rides and all the balls we've thrown? I want you to grow stronger than your dad could ever be. And when you find success, there will be no soul more proud than me. So will you let me carry you? One day you'll walk alone. I cannot bear to miss one day from now until you've grown. Now, I already preluded that I bawled my eyes out like a baby the first time I recorded this and read it. And how could this be a inspirational message? How could this be some kind of inspirational reading? And it's to read this, daily, once a week. And remember that we're never going to get these times back. That I'm never going to get these times back. I'm already blown away in the year and a little over a month that I have been a father and how quickly everything has changed. How, there was a point where he couldn't, could hardly open his eyes. And there was that time where he started to crack smiles, and now he's got a head full of hair. He's moving around everywhere. He's standing up on things, touching stuff. And there's times where it can get a little bit overwhelming and stressful. But I know that I am going to miss these days. All right. I already miss how he was a year ago. A year from now, I'm going to miss all of the crawling around, all the pulling rice and other stuff out of the pantry. I'm going to miss every single little bit of that. So I'm trying to hold on, slow down time as best as I can, and enjoy this process while I still have the opportunity. Because, I don't know, there's something about life, growing up, that's always stung. It's always been hard to talk about. It always gets me overwhelmed. If I see a movie and a character, grows in that within the span of that movie and stuff, and you kind of see like a life to death kind of perspective. It always gets me. And growing up and being and witnessing somebody grow up is always been hard. But this one is an important one. I read it probably once a week just to kind of re-put things back into perspective. That I will be dreaming of these days again someday down the future when he's all grown up, when he doesn't need me anymore, when I don't get to see him every single day, or when I don't get to spend as much time as I get to do with him, currently. And I'm not going to be, his only friend. He's going to have friends. He's going to, have a significant other if he so chooses down the line. And it's just a nice reminder to hold on and enjoy this as much as I possibly can. So there it is. My number 4, Can I Carry You by Brad Anderson. My number 3, it's called If by Rudyard Kipling. It's kind of in the fatherhood frame of mind, I guess, a little bit. If I read correctly, he wrote this for his son who passed away 5 months or 5 years after he put this out. But yes, this is a great one. This is a great one. If you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you. If you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make allowance for their doubting too. If you can wait and not be tired by waiting, or being lied about, don't deal in lies. Or being hated, don't give way to hating. And yet don't look too good, nor talk too wise. If you can dream and not make dreams your master, if you can think and not make thoughts your aim, if you can meet with triumph and disaster and treat those two impostors just the same, if you can bear to hear the truth you've spoken, twisted by knaves to make a trap for fools, or watch the things you gave your life to broken and stoop and build them up with worn-out tools, if you can make one heap of all your winnings and risk it on one turn of pitch and toss, and lose and start again at your beginnings, and never breathe a word about your loss, if you can force your heart and nerve and sinew to serve your turn long after they are gone, and so hold on when there is nothing in you except the will which says to them, hold on. If you can talk with crowds and keep your virtue, or walk with kings nor lose the common touch, if neither foes nor loving friends can hurt you, if all men count with you but none too much, if you can fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distance run, yours is the earth and everything that's in it. And, which is more, you'll be a man, my son. This is actually comes off pretty stoic as well. It's there's a lot of elements in this that I think like there's like a line here, a line there, a whole entire paragraph, or even just this. In my case, this whole thing, which can be taken as a lesson on how to be right, being humble, being wise, but not having to pronounce how wise you are. They talk about how there's a difference with how rich people act. So, like, yes, you have money, but you don't show off that you have money. A sort of humbleness in that regard. Like if you are doing really good, people shouldn't know you're doing good, if that makes sense. I love this. It's quite a balanced way of proceeding, and it's a way that I failed many times over. That's for sure. Because when things were good, I was definitely braggadocious, and social media heard about it whether they wanted to or not. And when things were bad, I even felt the need to proclaim it Put it out there, and it was nobody's business but my own. So it's a very balanced way of living humbly, and I think that's what the definition of being a man is. All right, it's this weird perspective on what manliness is supposed to be by influencers and all sorts of people who do not know what it's like to be a man. And yeah, this is humbling. This is something that I wish I would have read when I was younger. And maybe I did. And maybe I just didn't appreciate it. But it's there. So, all right, number 2. It's a little phrase, and actually this phrase is on my hat right here. Nuke choppy. And it's a phrase that I heard from my favorite football player of all time, Phillip Rivers. He had been using it while he was with the Chargers, and then when he came over to the Colts, it became this slogan, this catchphrase that was motivational, was inspirational. In fact, I got this hat made because I believe in this message so much. It's called Nunc Choppy is a Latin phrase for now I begin. All right, so there's no poem with this. It's a short phrase. Every day, every morning you wake up is a chance to begin. All right, every moment is a chance to begin. Right? If you fail something, I'll use another personal reference. If I lose a wrestling match, all right, if I lost a wrestling match in high school, okay, the next time I got this. Now I begin. All right, it's a fresh start mentality because there's a lot of people who take losses to heart and they let them drag them down. They let bad moments turn into bad days turn into bad weeks turn into bad months, and bad months turn into bad years. Every day is a chance to begin again, to begin anew. It's a new day, a new beginning, every single day, or any moment that we decide to stop and say, hey, I'm starting now. I think it's a hard lesson that I've had to learn. It's a hard lesson that I'm always striving for. That it's a bad day, not a bad life. You screw up something once, there's going to be an opportunity to do it better the next time. Work gives me that opportunity all the time. It does. It's important. So Nunc Choppy. Now I begin. That's why I wear this hat. I'm sure many of you have seen it and are like, what is that silly message? What are those silly words on his head? That's what it is. All right. And my number 1 by one of, if not my favorite U.S. president of all time. It's from Theodore Roosevelt. Came from a speech that he made in Paris, France on April 23rd, 1910. This was a couple years. This is about a year and a half after his presidency officially ended. He made a speech in France called Citizenship in a Republic. All right, it's a very important speech, but the last paragraph is one of the most important ones, and often framed up in pictures and on scrolls and hanging up on people's walls. Okay, I'm gonna read it to you, and I'll give you my interpretation of it. But this is the last one. This is my number 1. It is not the critic who counts, not the one who points out how the strong man stumbled or how the doer of deeds might have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred with sweat and dust and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs and comes short again and again, who knows the great enthusiasms, the great devotions, and spends himself in a worthy cause, who, if he wins, knows the triumph of high achievement, and who, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who know neither victory nor defeat. Now, this was a means of encouraging public service amongst people, right? Being a citizen in a republic. But this is a lesson that we all can learn from. The man in the arena. I can't tell you how many times, like, doing this show or putting yourself out there is such challenge, right? You get judged by people who wouldn't dare try. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've posted clips on certain, services and have just been destroyed with criticisms by people who do not do this, right? Do not have a YouTube show, do not have a podcast. It's hard. It's very hard to read that stuff and try and keep a level head, but that's the perspective, right? Now, Theodore Roosevelt was not talking about podcasting in this, of course. It can be anybody, the athlete. We all do it. If you're a football fan or if you're a fan of any sport, how many times have we been sitting there with our shirt off, laying on our couch, eating cheese puffs, saying, hey, what the heck was that? Insert quarterback here. Or what the heck was that? Super, goalie or what? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The person in the arena is the bravest of them all. All right, the person doing the dirty work is it's the most important. Everybody's a critic. But the credit really does belong to those who try. Successful people try and try and try and try. And the most successful people have tried and not let others tear them down, not let the critics or those cold and timid souls get to them and drag them down. It's the person trying over and over again. And yeah, the man in the arena is one that resonates with me the most because I have an uncanny habit of putting myself out there, then clamming up and letting the critics bring me down and disappearing into irrelevancy. I've done this time and time and time and time again. And I mean, you could look at it like, hey, the man in the arena hasn't worked for you, but it's a constant reminder for me to keep fighting whatever good fights that I believe in. Keep doing the things that I love to do despite insults from people whose opinion I shouldn't take much value in. That's what the man in the arena is. And that is the inspirational reading list. This is an emotional one. It was hard to get through. There's no doubt about it. But thank you, everybody, for sitting in with this with me. I can't tell you how much I love and appreciate each and every one of you. I try to do it every time I do these episodes. I hope you found something that you can reflect on, draw inspiration and strength from, and please share it along. Share wisdom. If there's something you really love, pass it along. I'd love to learn from what makes all my subscribers go and come up with my own interpretation of it. So that is it. Thank you so much. We'll be back on Friday. Much better tempo, much better vibe, much more upbeat is what I'm trying to say. But till next time, do you even list?